What's going on, you guys? It is Corbin Stuckey of Pixel Talk here, and today I'm going to be going into spoilers on the Cloverfield Paradox. I promised you guys this spoiler review last night when I did my initial review on the movie, so if you would like to see a review with no spoilers, you might want to go to my initial movie review of the Cloverfield Paradox. This video is going to be containing spoilers and theories as to what exactly this movie was and what we could possibly be seeing in the future. So if you guys saw my initial review, you know that I liked it, I had some problems with it, and I liked it as a Cloverfield movie. I did have problems with it as a film, and that's what this review is going to be about, is since I'm going into spoilers, I can talk a lot about the negatives that happen in this film and why I just thought it was okay as a film. But there's a lot of stuff that I really liked in here because it showcases what can happen in this franchise, because I like where they're going with it. There's a lot of Universal stuff going on, and this leaves some room for a lot of movies to happen in the future because of what is occurring in this film. And let's just dive into it. Let's just talk about this film. So if you've already seen the film, you know that this film takes place during the events of the first Cloverfield movie. There is this astronaut crew that goes into outer space on the space station called the Cloverfield. I really got giddy over that because we finally now know where the Cloverfield name comes from. It's a ship that's basically responsible for everything in this universe. And I like the ship because it has like 4 stations on it. Kind of looks like 4 leaves. So I was like, okay, it's like a clover. That's really cool. So I liked catching kind of little things like that. I really liked that a lot. And it was just really cool kind of seeing how we got a little bit of answers from this movie. But a lot of the answers were really forced. Like I said, it felt like a lot of the answers that were given to us, it felt really dumbed down. For example, when the crew is on that station, they're listening to this news broadcast, like this interview from this author, who is basically explaining what the Cloverfield Paradox is. Now, he's going into detail, basically saying that the Cloverfield Paradox is this thing where if you mess with particle acceleration, you could basically ruin time and space, basically colliding 2 universes together and creating chaos. And that is essentially what the majority of this movie is when they use this particle acceleration thing, they go into a different dimension. And because they're in that different dimension, that reality isn't having their presence. So there's a lot of things that are happening on the ship. We'll get to that. But one of the things that the author says while doing this interview is, if they continue the particle acceleration, they could release monsters, demons, beasts from the sea. Okay, so we already know from just the word monsters what you're talking about. You didn't have to put beasts from the sea. That's really specific dialogue, and that's basically spoon-feeding your audience, really. I don't know, it was just things like that throughout the movie that, like, kind of, I don't know, made me a little but, you know, it was still really interesting knowing that, like, you know, they wanted to give us answers, but when they give us answers like that, it kind of feels like that this isn't a movie on its own, really. It feels like, it doesn't feel like a sequel. It feels like a spin-off product, really. You know, like how there are some Marvel movies out there and they have tie-in comic books that kind of explain what's going on in S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that? This feels like that, but in a movie form. This doesn't really feel like a movie on its own. It feels like a movie-length television show. It feels like a long episode of Black Mirror. And I think that's a reason why they decided to put this movie on Netflix, was because they didn't feel like it could stand on its own as a film from what they had before, such as the first Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. It feels just like, this feels like a Netflix film. It feels like something that you could get off a streaming service, and they probably made the right choice here by putting it on Netflix. I know a lot of people were very pissed off about that, but it feels right that this is on Netflix because it doesn't feel like a sequel. It feels just like kind of a tie-in story that kind of just explains a little bit of everything. That's not a bad thing because I am a huge fan of Cloverfield, but I do understand where if you are watching this as a film, that people would get upset. So they use this particle acceleration thing, and by the way, I love that little shot of the Slusho like guy. That was pretty sweet, the Slusho bobblehead. And they go into another reality where their Earth is going at war, basically. I really like that portion where they're just freaking out, like they can't find Earth. Like Earth is just gone. Like where's the Earth, guys? Like what's going on here? I really like that portion. That actually was like kind of creepy. I don't know. Another reason that I kind of felt a little bit negative towards this film was the performances, and not really the performances, but the performances were fine, just the execution. If I was in outer space and like I found out that the Earth was gone, I would be flipping out. okay? I would be just like, guys, what are we gonna do? And there's a lot of stuff that happens throughout this film where there are things that happen to these characters. Like, thinking about it, actually, there's a lot of stuff that happens to these characters, and these characters are not freaking out. Let's get into that. So the one thing that happens, actually, that really does freak them out is they find a person in, like, the vents, and there's wires going through this person. And this woman knows one of the crew members. Like, this person knows them by name. So that was actually the one part that I was like, oh my god, this is scary. They have to rush her to the emergency room and get the wires out of her. I thought that part was, like, really scary. After that point, a lot of the stuff that happens on the ship because of, like, them messing with reality, they don't really react as realistically as I wanted them to react, really. Like, number one, there's that one guy who loses his arm. And he's just like, I just lost my arm. And it's like, yeah, dude, you lost your arm. And the one guy is like, he's in shock. It's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. He's the comedic relief. He's not going to be in shock. So there was stuff like that where I was like, you need to freak out more. And one part of the movie that really, really, really lost me was when the arm started writing. And it's like, is the arm just self-aware now? Can it just have thoughts and write things? That's where the movie lost me. And I was just really just, what are you doing, movie? And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I mean, they are messing with reality, and it could just break reality. So it was just things like that that I was like, okay, whatever. But still, it was like, what? Like, how is the arm, like, not only able to write, but how does the arm know that if you go into, like, this dead crew member, you're gonna find, like, this power orb that you're looking for? And that's another thing I want to talk about. I thought it was really cool how, like, a lot of the stuff on the ship was teleporting to different, like, places. Like, the one Russian guy, you know, he's got worms inside him. And that was definitely kind of a ripoff to Alien, where, like, it's the chest burster, but the worms, like, come out of his mouth. Like, that was definitely very Alien-esque. There's a lot of stuff in this film where it's very Alien-oriented. You have the crew, and they're lost in space, and you have, like, crew members that are just, there's stuff happening to them, their chests are bursting, or there's stuff coming out of their mouths. So I was like, okay, this is very Alien. This is very, very Alien. Another reason why I didn't really care for the characters that well was kind of the opening scene where we see the characters hanging out. I was like, okay, cool, we're about to, like, see what these characters are all about. We're about to see them hang out on the space station. That's really cool. Suddenly a fight breaks out. And it's like, God, we really don't have time to get to know these characters, really. Because the movie is so focused on just the story and just the progression of it all. It's very quick. It's a very quick-paced movie where it's focused on getting to the next scene. And I don't know, I just really wanted to feel for a majority of the characters. I only felt for the main woman because she was the focus. And everybody else, I would not really be able to tell you the bald guy's name. I really wouldn't be able to tell you, like, a lot about him except for the fact that he gets shot by that one crew member. I actually totally forgot that he was on the ship, honestly. Like, there are characters that are dying in this, and, you know, you kind of lose track of, like, who's alive and who's dead because you just don't really care for these characters at all because you don't really explore them except for the main character. And like I said, these characters don't have a lot of reactions to some of the stuff that's happening to them. Daniel Bruhl, who I was really excited for in this movie, who is the German scientist who's working on the particle acceleration thing, he loses his girlfriend or wife or whatever, his Asian, like, girlfriend, and he just stands there and he's like, she figured out what was wrong. It's the condensation. It's like, dude, you just lost your girlfriend. Like, are you, like, not, like, sad? Or the reactions in this film are just really not there, really. There's stuff that happens to them and they're just like, oh no, what are we going to do? And I think that was why I was more interested about the stuff that was going on Earth, where you have the main girl's husband, in the events of Cloverfield, the first Cloverfield movie. And I just thought that stuff was much cooler because it was just the first movie, but from a different perspective. And I did have some problems with that too. Number one, like, he wakes up and he's going through his phone. And whenever you're, like, on Twitter and looking up, like, statuses, you don't just, like, quickly go through the statuses. You take time to read everything. It's like, how are we supposed to know what's going on if you're, like, constantly swiping up to, like, look up your feed? Wow, that actually hurt my fingers a little bit. And I thought the portion where he finds the little girl, I thought that was really interesting too, because they go to a shelter, and the shelter looks very similar to the shelter in 10 Cloverfield Lane. I don't know if there is a connection or not, but I tried looking into it. He texts this person named Peter in order to find out if the shelter is still available, And I was like, wait, is Peter the name of that one guy from 10 Cloverfield Lane? But I looked it up, and John Goodman's character in that movie was Howard. So I don't think there is a connection. I don't think that's the same shelter. I just thought it was very interesting that, like, there was a shelter in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and there's a shelter in this film. So I tried to see if there was a connection there, but I don't think so. So going back to the space station, they find out that this person that they found in the walls is a crew member of theirs from a different reality. And I really enjoyed that because I thought that was just really cool, like the stuff that they can do with just interacting with someone from a different reality, but they knew the crew members on the ship. I thought that was kind of like cool and unsettling at the same time. But again, the movie shoves the information down to the audience on a baby level. It goes to the picture on the ship to showcase that in this reality, she was a crew member on this crew. But like I said, it dumbs it down because, like, notice how, like, the only thing really in focus is her. Everybody else is not in focus. She's the only one in focus. And that just would have been really cool if you didn't baby it down for us. You really forced us to focus on her in that picture. If you would have just kept the picture all in focus and we would have just, like, taken a look as an audience to, like, look at this picture, we would have found out that, like, oh shit, one of these things just doesn't belong here, but she's the only thing in focus, so we automatically just know. The movie doesn't trust us as an audience, and that's the one thing I'm going to say about this movie, is that it kind of treats us like we're dumb. And it gives us all the information in interviews on Earth, and just audio logs, and just, focusing on different things. Another thing that I want to talk about her character, too, is that she talks to the main girl, and she's like, don't trust the German guy. He's working for Germany and stuff. And they go through the logs and they find the messages. And I thought that was cool that, like, they're in a dimension where that's happening and the logs are still there. I thought that was a really interesting take because it causes, like, controversy among the crew. But I feel like it's really ironic that in the dimension prior to the reality that they're living in right now, that the Russian guy was concerned that the German was a spy. And the reality that they're in right now, that reality's version of that German guy is a spy. I found that really coincidental. I was just like, okay, whatever. It's just, And like I said in my initial review, I thought the main character, one of the choices that she makes in the middle of the film, I thought that was really selfish, really. I felt like it was a really selfish decision just to go to this Earth 2, whatever you want to call it, to see her family. Because, like, you have a husband back home. You have a husband back home who probably misses you, who probably needs you after losing your children. And, you are going to this Earth 2. And I understand you want to tell, like, your copy self that a fire is going to take place because of something that you took. But at the same time, it's not your reality. It's, like, you shouldn't really care that much. But as the film progressed, I was like, okay, I kind of understand her thought process as a human being, but that's just me. I don't know. And as far as this reality's crew member, like, killing everybody to steal the plans to bring it back to her Earth, I understood that motive, actually. I understood, like, okay, like, this ship in this reality is no more, so I have to steal your plans and bring them back to Earth, basically. So I understood that motive. I thought that was really cool. A lot of people probably think that's forced, but I was like, okay, that makes sense. And the last part of the film I really love, where they finally get back to the reality, and they're going down into the clouds, and then you see the Cloverfield monster! Oh, I thought it was so good! However, that Cloverfield monster is not that big. I'm sorry. It's just a monster the size of a building, okay? It's not, like, huge, and it doesn't reach the clouds. Unless it grew overnight, I have no idea, really. I don't know, there was a bombing, like, in the first Cloverfield movie, but it wasn't nuclear. Like, so I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's just not that big. I don't know what they were doing there. But, yeah, that's basically my spoiler review of the Cloverfield Paradox. Let's get into my theories real quick as to what I think is going on here. So basically, like I said, they're messing with the particle acceleration thing, and they are tampering with time and space itself. And by doing this, they're basically tampering with all these different dimensions, maybe these different versions of Earth, and that's essentially why these movies exist. They are basically responsible for what happened on their Earth with the first Cloverfield. Maybe they tampered with another Earth in 10 Cloverfield Lane. I have no idea. So it's basically because of them using this particle acceleration thing that they tampered with reality. And that's the reason why all this stuff is happening. That's why all the stuff, the crazy stuff on their ship was happening. An arm writing down notes Like, it showcases that if you tamper with reality and science, that some weird stuff is going to happen. And let's talk about the second Earth that they go to. So, in the first Cloverfield, you see at the end of the movie that there is a satellite that drops down into the ocean. And we believe from stuff that we've seen through the internet and the movie itself that this satellite was the satellite that woke this monster from its sleep. I found it really interesting that the ship that crashes in Earth 2 landed in the Atlantic Ocean, because the Atlantic Ocean is right next to Coney Island, where in the first film they're videotaping. So I thought, I don't know what that means really. I think what it means is in this Earth 2, this is where the satellite drops down and it wakes the monster from its sleep. I thought that's what it means. I could be wrong. I have no idea. I just thought that was really interesting that it drops into the Atlantic Ocean, and that's where Coney Island is at. I thought that was really cool. And I think what occurs here when they use the particle acceleration thing is they go into this other reality. They switch with the monster, basically. They switch into this other reality, and the monster from this second reality goes into their first reality and starts wreaking havoc in New York. I think that's what's going on here. I could be wrong, but it could just be a product of them using this particle acceleration and them opening a portal from another world and bringing this monster into this world, kind of like Pacific Rim. I have no idea, really. A lot of the stuff doesn't really add up. We were led to believe that a satellite woke this monster up from its sleep and the monster was already on Earth. I have no idea. Now they're saying that this monster was caused by particle acceleration. So I don't really know what to really believe now. A lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. I think that's what the movie is trying to convey, is that none of this stuff really makes sense anymore. Stuff is just going to happen because scientists in outer space were testing this thing. I don't know. I thought the movie was really interesting. I can't wait to see what they do in the future. Apparently they are already working on a fourth Cloverfield movie. Something about World War II. I don't know. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this film, like fan speculation and just what this exactly is. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts because I want to learn more about this universe, because I love Cloverfield and I feel as though I don't really know enough. I just love these movies by themselves. I don't feel like I really dug into a lot of the fake articles online and just the reality of everything. So just if you know anything that is like that could help me out as a fan, comment down below. If you want to send me articles, I have a Facebook page. The description is going to be down below. So if you would like to send me articles to Cloverfield websites or fake websites or whatever, you could do that, and I would really appreciate it. I will probably do like maybe an analysis video. Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to think about that because this is such a weird franchise to be talking about. But yeah, guys, just comment down below what you know, like the video, share it, and please subscribe to Pixel Talk if you haven't yet for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and gaming content. Thank you guys so much. I am Corbin Stuckey, and this is Pixel Talk.